Hey guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and today I'll be ranking every single NFL team's offseason from worst to first. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with team number 32, who is, of course, the Bears. They got rid of Kyle Fuller, one of their best defenders, so that they could have enough cap to sign Andy Dalton, one of the worst quarterbacks available. There were definitely so many more. Andy Dalton started so many games last year and did not have an impressive start in any of them. He was terrible. I guess he played pretty well against the Giants, but he didn't start, and it was just a little tiny glimpse. And I think it's a terrible decision. I think if I was a Bears fan, I would rather have Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, either of them. At 31st, the Eagles. I understand that they were in a pretty rough situation cap-wise and all, and I know they're trying to rebuild. But whenever you get rid of Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, and then I'm hearing rumors about getting rid of Zach Ertz, it just doesn't look good. Saints are kind of the same deal to where it obviously wasn't their fault. I know they had a very bad money situation, but still, and obviously Drew Brees wasn't at all their fault, and they do have a pretty good backup at Jameis Winston that they just re-signed. But whenever they're cutting so many good players, and then whenever they're giving so many of their best players pay cuts, which is just going to incentivize them to leave the team next year, it's just not any good. 29th, we have the Panthers. Really haven't done all that much. They let Curtis Samuel walk, and then I do like the fact they re-signed DJ Moore. Other than that, it looked like, especially at the beginning of the offseason, it looked like they were gearing up to do a big move, and they just haven't done it yet, and it's about to be too late with most of the good available free agents off the board at this point. Then we have the Falcons. This is another team that hasn't done all that much, and really that's all I have to say. They haven't done all that much when they really could have. The Raiders, really, all that's happened this year is that they lost Nelson Aguilar, and then they did gain a pretty good backup running back in Kenyon Drake, but that's really all they've done, and that's not good enough to get you any higher than 27th. Sorry. The Titans lost Adam Humphries. I feel like they've lost a big chunk of their team. They get Janoris Jenkins. They really overpaid. They really overpaid for Bud Dupree, but they did get him locked down for 5 years. So do like that. But other than that, I feel like they've lost a lot of offensive weapons, and they just haven't really done enough. They've lost a lot of free agents, obviously, on offense, and they haven't done enough to. They haven't really signed enough offensive weapons to make up for that, and I don't like that. The Colts. This is a team that really they traded for Carson Wentz. They re-signed T.Y. Hilton. And then they've been stagnant since then. I understand that they did make the playoffs last year. I understood that they came very close to beating the Bills in a playoff game. It was a very close game. However, I feel like they need to add more. I feel like at least they need to get a good wide receiver too over Michael Pittman, and for T.Y. Hilton not to be triple teamed every single game. And I don't like the Carson Wentz trade. I know they didn't give that much for him, and I like that. But also I feel like they're again kind of like Andy Dalton, but to a much lesser extreme. I feel like they were a lot better quarterbacks out there they could have gone for. He had a couple good years. I get it, 3 and 4 years ago. But he hasn't been bad ever since 2018. He has been bad, since 2018. Average off seasons, we started with the Jaguars. Team that hasn't really done all that much again. I understand. I kind of see what they're doing. They're not in a position to go out and try to get a bunch of people. They just went 1-15. I kind of like what they're doing. Just get Trevor Lawrence, coast through this year, get another really good low draft pick. Maybe the next 2 years, 3 years, you can be relevant. You can be relevant again. But right now, like what they're doing. In the 23rd place, we have the Lions. I feel like Jared Goff is a downgraded quarterback. I know they got a load of picks. I feel like the Rams got the better quarterback, but the Lions got the most picks. However, I feel like that other than that trade, the Lions haven't done much, and that's just not going to get them anywhere. At 22nd, I have the Chargers. This is a team that hasn't done much, but I kind of see what they're coming from because last year they looked really impressive. They just did not win games. Now they've got a whole new coaching staff in there, and I feel like that could change and winning culture in the organization again, more players. The Vikings. This is a team that again, I think their whole organization is kind of banking on the fact that maybe last year was a fluke. But I feel like they should be getting more players to try to ensure that last year was just a fluke and that they get back to their winning ways and don't have a repeat of last year. They don't really do much in the offseason, and they end up losing. The Cowboys, they re-signed Dak Prescott, really big overpay. But I do like the fact they got him back, especially for 4 years. It's definitely going to be a big boost. Definitely over Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci. But I definitely don't think he was worth $40 million a year. Not in a long shot. However, he is a good quarterback, and they do have him now for a while. I also like the Keanu Neal signing. However, I don't like the fact they haven't done much of the offensive line. So some good and bad. It's just pretty average. At 19th, I have the Bengals. The Bengals haven't done much. However, they did get Riley Roof, who will be really good for that offensive line. They need to add a couple more pieces to that offense before I'm pretty happy with this offseason. I understand they're not going to come out this next season and be 10-6 or 10-7 or whatever. However, I do think that definitely they should add some more pieces to that offense and maybe draft a pretty good defensive player. I don't know. The Bengals, they just have to add a couple more players before I'm okay with this offseason. The Ravens, I understand that they went out and they reached out to a bunch of wide receivers. They ended up with Sammy Watkins, but I feel like there were a lot of better wide receivers that they could have gotten. I honestly, I don't. Obviously, we don't know any of the details with how much they offered all these guys, but I definitely feel like it's kind of surprising that they went out against I think they went out and bid for every single free agent wide receiver that was worth getting, couldn't get them. And Sammy Watkins, he's good, but he's definitely not what Ravens fans are hoping for. Definitely not anybody thought that the Ravens should be getting. He's definitely an upgrade, but still. Texans, they upgraded that running game tremendously. Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, a big upgrade over the Johnson brothers. I don't even know if they're brothers, but I'm assume they are. And other than that, I mean, they did get rid of Will Fuller and J.J. Watt, which makes sense. They are going into a rebuild. Also, though, they would actually be at a higher placement if they got rid of Deshaun Watson, because I would kind of say, all right, they're going into a rebuild. They've loaded up their running game, and they've got rid of their big players, and now they're just ready to coast through this next year and get stuff done next offseason. However, they kept Deshaun Watson, which is kind of silly and mixed messages. I don't know if they're trying to rebuild. I don't know if they're trying to save money and try and get back into things next year. The Texans are confusing me. Good off seasons. We had the Seahawks. The main reason that they're up here is because they haven't traded Russell Wilson. I don't think they should trade Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson. That was dumb. Russell Wilson. I like the fact that they declined the trade from the Bears. That was for 3 firsts, a third, and 2 starters that the Bears offered them. I kind of see that as them saying, nope, we're not trading him. I like that. They also re-signed Chris Carson, a very good running back. He's had some off years, so he took a bit of a pay cut, but other than that, which I guess that's good for the Seahawks. So I like what the Seahawks are doing. Obviously, they haven't really added anything big, so they're not going to be up here top 15, 10, whatever. But yeah, 15th we have the Jets. Upgraded that offense a bit. Other than that, haven't done all that much. But again, they're kind of like the Jaguars in that they're not in a position where they should be going out and spending a whole lot of money. They should be waiting for the draft, coasting to next season, and getting stuff done next offseason. Next offseason is going to be really crucial for a lot of these bad teams. The Steelers, they're kind of doing a Buccaneers-type strategy where they are just re-signing a bunch of players, and they also restructured Big Ben's contract, and they gave him a big pay cut. However, they really haven't signed anybody big, and that is what's holding them back. I do like the fact that they got a lot of guys back. They were a very good team last year. I feel like at the point where they are right now, they could definitely still make the playoffs. However, I feel like for them to be back up to the form they were 2-3 years ago, they definitely need to add some more pieces to that offense. And probably in the draft later rounds, obviously, they should probably get someone to back up Big Ben, because he is getting into the later years of his into his playing years, so they definitely need to get someone who can replace him. Then we have the Packers, re-sign Aaron Jones, and that's about it. The only thing I could really see them doing is getting another weapon for that offense, but other than that, they were playing really well. They're going to give Aaron Rodgers a couple more years, I'm guessing, to take a swing at things. I cannot speak English. So yeah, I like what they're doing. It's not like amazing, but it is pretty good. The Dolphins got Will Fuller, and I swept him for Tua. They haven't traded away or gotten rid of Tua. I really like that, because if you blinked, you wouldn't miss it. There were rumors of them getting rid of Tua. Glad they didn't do that. The Calvin Anoy cutting or releasing was kind of surprising, but I guess it makes sense. I don't know. The Dolphins are with the 49ers at 11th. This is a team that hasn't really done that much, but it makes sense. They're getting a lot of players back from injury, so there's re-signing players. They're probably just going to try to act like this year was last year. They're going to kind of ignore last year. That was a bunch of injuries and stuff, and probably won't happen again this year, knock on wood, if you're a 49ers fan. The Broncos really ramped up that secondary with the signing of Kyle Fuller and the re-signing of Justin Simmons. This defense is going to be lethal, especially that secondary. And with them getting Von Miller back, that definitely makes their defense even more amazing. But also, they did lose Phillip Lindsay, who was picked up by the Texans. And in my opinion, I think he was one of their best offensive weapons, possibly the best. He was insanely underrated, and as we saw with the Texans, he would be very cheap to re-sign. I don't like the fact they didn't re-sign him, and I also like the fact that right now they're very empty on offense. They don't really have that much on offense, and I feel like right now it's going to be a dumpster fire unless they can figure out what to do with that offense. They're at 10th because I love what they're doing on that defense. I love all the work they're doing on the defense. If they can just flip this around and start working on that offense now, they could possibly become a very good team, a playoff contender possibly in 2021. Ninth, we have the Cardinals. Their big weakness last year, their defense. They added J.J. Watt for a couple of years. I like that. Having a pretty good offseason. Not much I can say. Very good offseasons. At 8th, I'm going to have the Chiefs. Their one weakness was their offensive line. This season, they've completely flipped that around. They have added so many different players to their offensive line. They've done everything they need to do. I like it. The reason they're not up higher is simply because these teams are teams that have gotten exponentially better. Not all of them, but most of them are teams that have gotten exponentially better during the season. The Chiefs just kind of fixed the problem. The Bills are kind of like the Chiefs. Except for they didn't really have the Bills didn't really have a blaring issue. They went on. They got Emmanuel Sanders to add to that offense. They didn't really lose anybody big to free agency, and I like what they're doing here, ramping up that offense to match what their defense is doing. At 6, you have the Rams. Like I said, I thought they got the better deal in that trade. I feel like getting Matthew Stafford is a massive upgrade over Jared Goff, and also they didn't stop there. They went out and they got him another weapon in Deshaun Jackson, looking like a team that could possibly within the next couple of years go back to the form it was back in 2018 and become a Super Bowl contender again. Now, obviously not this year. I said in a couple years. But they are on the right track, and I like a lot what they're doing. Into the top 5, we have Washington. Completely revamped that offense with Ryan Fitzpatrick now quarterback, which is an upgrade, but is also the reason they're not higher up. It's just because I feel like they could have gotten a better quarterback. But Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't bad. He probably had some of the best years he's had these past 2 years with Miami. And also, they completely their offense, their wide receiver group is now completely different. It's gone from Terry McLaurin and whoever the heck was backing him up, and now we've got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Adam Humphries. Completely different for Washington. I like what they're doing. Also, the William Jackson signing was nice. The Browns, this is a team that I thought coming into this offseason they were going to be a team like the Bills or like the Ravens or someone who they're pretty good, but they're not going to completely blow me away in the offseason. But they went out, they got John Johnson, and they made their team like 50 times better because of that. And now I really like what they're doing. I feel like the Browns are on a good trajectory to possibly become a Super Bowl contender within the next 2 years. Got the Patriots. Their biggest weakness, offensive weapons. Nelson Aguilar has a good wide receiver, and then they added Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, two fairly young and tight ends. Now they've got a really good tight end duo and a fairly solid wide receiver group with Nelson Aguilar and Julian Edelman on there as their top 2. I assume that Nelson Aguilar will be number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Edelman or N'Keal Harry as number 1. But I like what the Patriots are doing. They also added a couple more pieces to that defense. The Patriots are now looking like a team that could go 11-6 or something. I don't know how to. So normally when you say whenever I think of 10-6, I think of like a specific type of team. 9-7, 8-8 so far. Now they had another game. And now that's just got a whole I don't know what to think of a 9-8 team. Is that like a good team? Is that like a med team? Like what is a 9-8 team? Then we have the Buccaneers. Now this is kind of like the Steelers ramped up to 1,000. They re-signed everybody. They re-signed Gronk. They re-signed Brady. They re-signed a couple other players I can't think of off the top of my head right now. They tagged Chris Godwin. It's basically the same team all over again. They didn't really add anybody new. I guess that's what the draft is going to be for. But right now, I think they're looking just to, because they see right now their team is aging. I think what the Buccaneers are looking to do is just to possibly get like another couple Super Bowls in the next 4 years, and then kind of go back into irrelevancy. Obviously, that's not what they want, but that's kind of what they're looking to do. That being said, I do like what they're doing this offseason, getting everybody. Okay, number 1, we have the Giants, about as perfect as you can get in the offseason. Re-signed Leonard Williams, possibly their best defensive player. He was insane, especially in the second half of the season last year. And then they also added Kenny Golladay and I can't think of his name. They added that good tight end from from Minnesota. I can't think of his name. But yeah, they added a couple more weapons for Daniel Jones. They basically, their defense was already doing really good at the end of last season. It was one of the better ones in the league, and now they've kind of made their offseason. They've kind of taken their offense and put it up near that level. And now they've got Darius Slay, Kenny Galladay, that tight end. I still can't think of the name. And now they've got a really good offseason. Now they've got a really good offense to boot. And if Daniel Jones can finally pick things up, the Giants could make the playoffs in the NFC East. It's probably between these two teams right here, in my opinion. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in my next one. Please subscribe and like the video. This has been the NFL Addict. I will see you in the next one.